It's 1 p.m. This is your latest newscast on 92.4 LUO FM.
Farmers in Nacholi tipped on best practices for post-harvest maize management. West Nile youths advised to use social media to cause change, and Education Ministry officials dismissed from PSC over disorganized submissions. Hello, it's exactly 1 p.m. Welcome for the latest with me, Golden Vicky Ayiro on 92.4 LUO FM. And now the news in detail. Police in Pader district have been accused of confiscation of belongings and exhibits of suspects. Martin Skiria, the chief magistrate Pader district, made this revelation after his visit to Kineni government prison, located in Pokot sub-county, where inmates expressed their dissatisfaction on police to him. He asked why would the police do such a thing, yet it is against the law of this country. He continued to say it is a human right violation and soon some officers will be brought to book. Superintendent of Police Jackson Bogere, the DPC Pader district, responded saying that his office has received similar complaints before and he has made follow-ups into the claims, but found out that some suspects claim even exhibits as their properties. Bogere added that he will take it upon himself and make sure that his officers should always record whatever a suspect will be found with to differentiate between exhibits and personal belongings. He dismissed the claim, saying that as a police, they know it is an offense to be in possession of what does not belong to you, and more so a law custodian to take a prisoner's property is an offense. He pledged to engage with the prisoners to place them on the know about their properties. In the regional scene, in the bid to enhance the quality and the market of maize, a section of farmers from parts of the Acholi sub-region are undergoing training on proper post-harvest handling, storage, and adherence to the market standards. The training that commenced on Tuesday in Gulu City is being conducted by the Southern and East African Trade Information and Negotiation Institute, Seitini, and targeting farmers from Gulu and Amuro districts. Jonathan Lobega, the program officer at Seitini, noted that the training aims at equipping farmers with the necessary knowledge and skills to ensure they produce maize that meets the quality standards for both the local and international markets. Lobega said that many farmers in the sub-region have failed to access the better markets within and outside the country due to a lack of knowledge on best farming practices in the maize value chain.
What we really expect as a result of this training is to see that farmers understand the step-by-step approach to understanding the maize value chain standards. For example, these are standards that start from sorting the seeds, the chemicals that are used, the fertilizers that are used. If these are also bad, then we shall have residues. As a result, they will not meet the standard. So even where farmers put maize on their ground, also pack maize in dirty sacks, it is something that needs to be today we want to get out and also create that awareness.
Lubega noted that through the training, they expect the farmers to have a mindset change on the farming practices and compliance to standards that influence their potential in accessing the markets.
So we come up to add the voice, also to change, the bad farming practices through these trainings. And as a result of these engagements that we have under this project, specifically this week and also next week, is to see that farmers change. We have a mindset change on learning the new good practices as well as unlearning the bad practices that they have been undertaking. One of the complaints that came up during the launch as well as the entry meetings that we conducted was mistrust between the traders as well as the farmers.
Jackson Lako, the Gulo District Production Officer, however, cautioned on the use of pesticides by farmers, urging that while it helps you to fight the pests and diseases, its uses must be regulated and should be a last resort by a farmer. According to MAIFI statistics, farmers produce an estimated 5 metric tons of maize yearly across the country. Vicky Lokuya, one of the farmers, noted that the limited access to extension workers in the rural areas is greatly affecting farmers to improve their farming skills. She called on MAIFI to increase the number of extension workers near farmers to help farmers access the latest agricultural information. And away from that, youth leaders across the West Nile region have raised concerns over the misuse of social media for non-productive activities. They argue that given its power to influence many at once, young people should harness the social media to promote active participation in decision-making processes and policies for development through creative advocacy from grassroots to national levels. Ivan Ochakachon, the youth councillor for Pakwach district and general secretary of the West Nile Youth Council, expressed disappointment over the growing trend of young people using derogatory and disrespectful language against local leaders on the various social media platforms. Ochakachon urged the youth to adopt a more constructive approach, especially ahead of the forthcoming general elections, to enhance their engagement in governance and political decision making. He emphasized that social media can be used for self-development and career growth, allowing young people to become change makers rather than eroding cultural norms and religious values.
We have abused our cultural norms. We have abused our religion through the technological advancement. We have resorted to insulting our political leaders via platforms. We have resulted into disrespect of society, which spoils our reputation. So let's use these platforms to market ourselves and we become better people. Let's create connections online. We can share with people outside the country, within the country, and other parts of the world. I think that would add value to our minds. That would add value to the society.
Mwanza Raza, the operative officer for Faraza in the Pakwach district, also raised concerns about young people engaging in unproductive activities online, such as accessing pornographic content instead of utilizing digital tools for personal and community development.
Just some or a few who are having smartphones and just go through what they have in their smartphones, you will be embarrassed. You may say, yes, these smartphones are helping them to market their businesses, but what businesses are they marketing? Somebody is marketing his or leaves, my lungi, whatsoever. That is not easy. Some of them are just even using smartphones to watch pornography.
Atukunda Sharon, the Executive Director of Advance Africa, an NGO working with youth in Pakwach, Arua, and Terego districts under the project Now As for Youth, Inclusive Policies and Economic Empowerment, stressed that social media can be a powerful tool for business promotion and customer engagement.
So we want young people to appreciate that kind of approach where they are able to promote themselves via online, but also be able to offer great social customer service. What does this mean? Also online you can have customer engagement, how you respond to your customers, understand their needs better, and this helps you generate leads, but also increases on your revenues.
You're listening to the news on 92.4 LUO FM. In the national scene, in a dramatic turn of events, officials from the Ministry of Education and Sports were dismissed from the Public Accounts Committee (PAC) of Parliament for appearing disorganized in their submissions. The committee, chaired by Vice Chairperson Gorethi Namuga, was unimpressed with the ministry's team led by Permanent Secretary Dr. Kedresi Turatemba for failing to bring the necessary officers to respond to audit queries. The queries in question related to the project for vocational education phase 2, which is funded by a 14 million US dollars opaque loan and 2.4 million US dollars in government counterpart funding. However, the project manager's inability to explain why the government had spent over 30 billion shillings as a counterpart funding instead of the allocated 10 billion shillings raises serious concerns. Despite a 20-minute suspension to allow the project accountant to appear, the officials failed to provide satisfactory answers, prompting the committee to dismiss them. The dismissal highlights the committee's commitment to ensuring transparency and accountability in the management of public funds. The Ministry of Education and Sports has given a second chance to redeem itself, but the stakes are high. As the committee awaits their return, one thing is clear: accountability and transparency will be paramount. And finally, outside Uganda, South Africa is actively engaging with the Trump administration to enhance its trade relationship with the United States, despite ongoing diplomatic tensions following the expulsion of its ambassador. Presidential spokesperson Vincent Mogwenya stated on Thursday that President Cyril Ramaphosa is committed to strengthening ties with Washington, particularly in trade. The South African Department of Trade, Industry and Competition is leading efforts to review the range of tradable goods and identify new areas for economic collaboration collaboration. The diplomatic tension escalated earlier this week when U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio declared South Africa's ambassador to Washington, Ibrahim Razol, persona non grata, citing accusations of race baiting and criticism of President Donald Trump. Razul was given until Friday to leave the U.S. This move follows Trump's executive order in February, which cut U.S. funding to South Africa, citing government actions fueling disproportionate violence against racially disfavored landowners. The order specifically referenced Afrikaners, the white minority group descended from Dutch and French colonial settlers. Despite the diplomatic setback, Mogwenya downplayed the impact of the ambassador's expulsion. He assured that engagements with the Trump administration are continuing at various levels of government. Thanks for listening to the latest. A blessed afternoon.
That was your latest news on 92.4